set of personality code. So I will go straight to topic, which is how 3D printing will change everything. And by everything I mean pretty much a lot. Well, how many of you knows what that is? Please raise your hand. Who owns one? Oh yeah, okay, like 2, 3, very good. So this is a 3D printer. You know what a printer is? It's like you put papers in and print text. Everybody knows that. This one is a little bit different. This print 3D structures by molding plastic, fiber, filament actually, and putting a stripe by stripe on the stuff. And the special thing about it, this printer, all white parts you see and most of the black parts you see are printed on a similar printer. So this printer actually is a replicating machine that can print itself, all non-metallic parts. This one is a piece of open source hardware. So it's completely free, it's not patent, the software is free. It runs Arduino boards, as you can see above. This one called RepRap, it's a Model 2. It's been since like 3 years ago. And the first model actually arrived like 2007. This was a precedent of that. The very first 3D printer that there was at all have been introduced as early as 1984. But this have been very expensive machines, very troublesome, cost about 120,000 euro if you want to get one, and been used in prototyping process around the world since then. But then some bunch of guys actually come up with the idea this should be available for all people, free to make themselves. So this machine cost not 120,000 euro, not even 100,000 euro, not even 10,000 euro, but actually you can build one yourself with spare parts and somebody that can print the rest of you for less than 500 euro. Or if you're lazy, you can go and buy a ready one, similar one. This is from Ultimaker, cost about 1,000 euro. Pre-made, pre-built, assembled for you. And then you need to download from the internet stuff and you can print them out. I think there's an advantage factory over there. There was a lab that people who displayed what you can do with this stuff. We'll come back to that later. So this is what's available completely today, as well as this. This is also industrial 3D printer. It's actually a battery. This is big machines, as you can see. This is more like wardrobe sized, and it is able to print faster and bigger and with multiple materials at the same time because it has multiple nozzles. This is also still very expensive, but not that expensive as you might think what was expensive before. So the 3D printer process can produce nearly everything. And as I said, you need some kind of a model, and then you put into the printer and it will print it. The model is a wireframe. Model is a 3D object, pretty much as you know from 3D games, some kind of a house or everything else. But actually, the question is, how do you get to a 3D model? Is traditionally you hire someone or you're able to do it yourself. With 3D artist tools, there are some of them free available, some of them commercial, so you tinker a lot and you create some kind of a model that you want to have printed or rendered. For easier way to go is brand new, this arrived this week, cost 1,100 euro at stock. You can order it including shipping. I'm not related to the company anyway, but this is a 3D free sculpt. This is a printer, as I said before, for home use, which also includes a 3D scanner. So you can put any object inside it, it will laser scan it, or takes photographs kind of from different sides. I don't know how the magic actually works, I don't care. It will throw up a perfect copy of that object. This is free sculpt. And I have a slide in the end with all the URLs of the stuff I used. So this is, and as you can see, is printing, well, some kind of a bunny head. And usually, so to give an idea, the most stuff that's been printed today at home is contained of a kind of a plastic that is very similar to packaging of a yogurt, right? So some kind of a cheap plastic that's kind of hard, but it's plastic. But 3D printing is not limited to that. So a lot of people hear 3D printing and thinking, okay, I will go to ripraps and about how cool they are. They're totally cool, absolutely. But I am, as a politician, I'm more interested in implications, what it does mean for all of us. And I want to give you an idea of what is available today, what we can do today with printers, what we'll be able to do tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next year, and from there on. So the first one that might surprise you, it's not necessarily have to be plastic. So this one is actually a silver jewelry that is printed, and then you can order online with your own model by Shapeways, and it says in the lower end. But actually it's a little bit...
Sunt super, eu te-l 3 dana îmi trebuie, dar n-am zis tot filmul cu trebuie.
This again, sir. So this, by the way, not the most dangerous thing, the worst thing that ever happened to me as I gave a presentation, that my motherboard actually died and in the middle of presentation. And it was completely dead and I had no slides. Well, it's not about the slides, it's about what I talk. So actually this is a little bit cheating because it's not really completely printed. It is a kind of a three-way process. First it's been printed with a plastic model, then it's been some kind of polished, then it's been created a mold in a ceramic, and then it's been produced with like a silver bin, molten and then put into the form. But nevertheless, you have just a wireframe model that you send into the internet to somebody and you get a same printed out version in silver. How cool is that? This is pretty nice coloring. Who loves chocolate? Yay! Cool. How about printing chocolate? Would it be cool if you could like print whatever you like with chocolate? Well, you can. With that printers I just show you, you not necessarily have to do to have nozzle that will melt plastic. It also works with chocolate. So you can have chocolate letters printed or candy. And now we see something that specific about 3D printing. This kind of free form, some kind of a spiral. It consists of sugar and it is a candy. It is pretty impossible to do any other way than to print that. It would be very, very hard to do. Well, this is printed today on a printer, pretty much the same as you saw before. All available today. This one is printed on a 3D printer. Now the girl is real, the dress is printed, and the dress is real as well. And it's pretty transparent. The photo doesn't show the details, but you can imagine, let's play your imagination. This is a German performer called Dieter von Thies, and she claimed it would be the world's first printed dress. Some other people say, oh, okay, it's not the first, we had something done before, and so on and so on, but pretty much you can print it. This is plastic, of course, up to certain levels. How about shoes? So those are ugly, right? Yes, pretty much, but unique. Actually, the point about the 3D printing is that since it's all available online on a big website called Thingiverse, where you can download the wireframe model, you can tinker it, you can create something a little bit different, you can do alternations that you can upload it back. It's all like CC licensed. So you can do variations if you don't like that one. And a company called Nike, I just show you it for to give you a bit picture of what 3D printing can look like. I define this as 3D printing. Actually, this is a Nike ID campaign where you can create completely customized shoes from Nike. So they have several models, and then you can click start customization now, create your own color, and you're not limited to colors, so you can use all the full 64,000 colors they offer you. You can create some patterns, and you can even go exclusive and say nobody else, but you could have the same design. So some high performance sportsmen do have their own shoes printed under Nike ID. The point is why this is special is you always could have, of course, somebody made custom shoe for you, but it would cost you more, like in the area of 10,000 euros. This one is available for 250 bucks. And it may be expensive, but it is completely yours. So pretty much chance that nobody will ever have the same shoe, wearing the same shoe that you have ordered online. But they're still limited to certain models. So this is one, but you can order this today. What you will be able to order tomorrow is something like this. This is another shoe company, so I'm not limited to Nike, not all. This is New Balance. It's an American company, and this is a 3D printed shoe. Well, actually, it's not exactly printed in the same way that I've seen before. This is called laser sintering. Well, I don't have no fucking idea what that means. But to be clear, it's something to do with lasers and high energy, and you get a perfect shoe that fits your shoe if you have scanned it previously in 3D. And you can also apply your own design and colors and everything. So this is completely custom made to fit your shoe, to fit your feet. But come on, I don't actually walk that much. I don't like walking, you can see. How about a car? This is a completely printed 3D, in 3D, completely printed car that is actually exists in reality. The print is a little bit bigger than printed, and actually also all parts of it, including the resin and including the transparent plexiglass parts, are all printed and then assembled. There still have to be a human who assembled it. This exists today. It's a small company. I haven't forgot the name, I'm sorry. But just to give you an idea about what can be imagined. And the other cars manufacturers all do pretty much the same, but they only use this as a prototype process. So they print the external parts of the car and see how they fit, and then they destroy them. Nobody got ever to see that, because this is confidential as hell. But this is actually, guys, they're collecting money on Kickstarter right now for a second generation of that car, and this is a two-seater. But then, hell, you could, if somebody would create an open source version of that, you actually could download a car from the internet. How cool is that? Who wouldn't? Nobody. I thought that. Well, so this is also exists today. It's a multi-material printed PC speaker. So you plug it into your PC, and this is a speaker, and you see it contains some kind of a plexiglass and some wires, and this had to be assembled a little, but it is printed completely today. What also been printed today is, to give an application why we are talking about that, is like medical stuff, the medical protease. This is actually the very first 3D printed prothesis that been transplanted into an 86 years old Japanese woman who is happy to have her fourth teeth and a new jaw, which is also important. But actually, from what I read, so this is success today, from what I read, what they're planning to do next is actually to print stuff directly into the bones, directly into the body. So like they would cut somebody open with some hip problem, remove some tissue, and then print the head of a bone right into it. I don't know how it will work, but this is what they talk about on the internet. This one is also very exciting as I think. Well, I'm a geek and I've studied physics. Well, this is a lithium-ion battery. Pretty much the same as you have in your mobile phone, except that this one is 200 micrometers long. So this one still needs some casing and filled with electrolyte, but actually this is a battery that you can print today completely on a logic board. So it still needs some manual tasks right now, but probably they're gonna solve that to do it the robotic way, to robotic assembly. So the way to print completely functioning devices out of a 3D printer is just around the corner. This is just they're solving some problems, but probably next year they will be completely there to print completely like a logic board equipped with all the chips and everything. And how I know that? See the next printer. This is called nanoscribe, and you saw before that we had 200 micrometers. This one is 20 micrometers structures long. So they're pretty neat. This is completely microscopic. It's actually thinner than a human hair, so you can imagine. And they are not 10 minutes. Okay, I'm speeding up a little. So so these, what also this printed on the same printer, this 20 micrometers long, a model of an Empire State Building, and they now to scale up a little bit. This is a version that actually should have been printed like last month, but they had some problems with legislation, so they printed next year. It calls a landscape house. It's designed by the Dutch architect Rusinel, and this is a structure that has been printed on site with concrete. Why they can do that directly? Because the concrete, new concrete has been invented that is like 10 times more stable than the last one, so it doesn't need iron armatures, so it can be done. So actually this is the printer how it looks like in nature. This is a structure 6 by 6 by 6 meters tall, and inside you see a printer head that can move and print concrete. Another idea of another group is to have like a spider board, pretty much like a concert camera that you see at the large festival concerts that fly around and can reach every point in the area, and you just need to arrange some kind of a frame around it and then start printing. And with that you could have printed structures not only rectangular but any shaped. This is a concrete structure that has been printed on such a printer. Right now there's a race going on who will ever build the first completely printed 3D printed house, out of concrete. This will happen probably next year, maybe this year. In the meantime, there are some other projects like wikihouse.cc where you can download CC licensed wireframe models for a CNC saw mill and put some wood in it, and it will saw you out shapes that you can assemble into a house. This is today. And you can put back your own designs. This is a wiki. Well, the architects have taken up a little more thought what could be done, and creating, because they're not limited to rectangular forms, they're creating some very strange stuff, and then ESA thinking about putting the stuff on the moon and print a moon base directly on the moon. How cool is that? Well, the not so cool stuff is, of course, people can misuse the technology. You probably heard this in the news. This is a printed 3D printed gun, which only have one metal part, which is in the middle, to actually fire the bolt. But please don't do this at home. This one is dangerous. This happens if you actually try to fire this. But nevertheless, the technology improves. So we have stuff like automatic guns with the large capacity magazines on the internet you can download. The next stuff you never heard yet of the news, the next one I predict will be the danger of 3D printed landmines, which these are actually printed for training of demining, but the next step is to fill it with real explosive and you would not be able to detect them with metal detectors. It's bad stuff. Well, how it will be next future? You probably won't necessarily have a 3D printed home, but you will know somebody with a 3D printer around the corner. This is a local print shop in Beirut, opened like last month. This is the owner. This is how it looks inside. So he holds some structure that he prints for customers. But the problem that we'll have, well, this is another experience I also include in the 3D printing. This is actually a baking automat in German discount shops where you can walk up and press the button and say, I want this bread, and say, like, wait 2 minutes, I give you a freshly baked bread. Because it's been pre-baked all the time and you just finished baking. I call my kids, look, this is a replicator from Star Trek. Computer, one bread, please. Works. Well, the problem with that is that this is going to bring a lot of problems that we are, as a society, not equipped, as a legal society, not equipped to handle now. So the one obvious one is copyright. Copyright is not built to handle 3D printed objects. It's not even, it's not built to handle downloaded music from the internet. So how easy could this be abused? Just imagine. The next one is our tax system. Our tax system is ancient, actually. This is an example of a tax report from the Babylonians. This is built on taxing labor. It's taxing work. If you do something, it gets added some tax on that. The problem is, if everybody prints everything, then no factory is actually making anything. So where is the money? And this brings you to the next one. Since there's no work, as a pirate, I say we advocate for the introduction of a basic income. There is no real way, in my opinion, around this problem than to introduce a basic income that will give money to everybody. And as you see, this is some random picture of the internet. I don't know what its numbers are, but it actually has less and less work in the world, in every country. And our taxation idea and our social welfare idea is that is there some kind of a full employment future, that it will happen someday again, and then we all will be in work and everybody will be happy. Bad news, will not happen. The same goes with trade system. Our trade system is heavily exploiting the fact that we can produce something somewhere else in the world way cheaper because the wages are lower, and then we move the whole bag shipwise back to Europe, to the United States, whoever you want, whoever live. The problem is, if you print it locally, this will not work. So our whole taxation system, our whole taxation export-import economy will collapse, because nobody will importing anything but the 3D wireframes and some raw materials, which is not enough to make it. So this is actually my talk. Now I talk about me. I'm a co-chairman of a Pirate Party International, city council in Offenbach, IT entrepreneur, I ran some companies, and I'm a geek. And one last word before we come to the Q&A. Go and sign, please, change.org Tempora. It's available in certain languages, like 7 or 8, whatever. And if it's not available in your language, please translate that. This is a petition to the European Union to stop Tempora. Thank you very much. Any questions?